Ladies and gentlemen, we have another question about the Trinity, an objection, and that is, how can Jesus be one person with two natures, a human nature and a divine nature, and yet have attributes that seem to contradict, like being all-knowing, yet limited in knowledge, or being tempted by sin, and yet untemptable? Well, one possible answer, and I mean possible, there's no need to be dogmatic. All you have to do to answer the objections from the critics is to give a possible answer. And to give this possible answer, the first question that comes to mind is, what does it mean to have a human nature? Well, to have a human nature, you have a human body and a soul. So it's a human body and a soul composite. That's what it means to be human. Next question comes to mind is, what does it mean to have a divine nature? Well, to have a divine nature, you must be a member of the Trinity. Also, time out. I wanted to mention one thing that the Christians know, and that is the human soul is made in the image of God, Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So here's man's soul, here's the Trinity, that's God, man in his image. So here's God, the Trinity, with the sufficient properties for man, soul. So a member of the Trinity has the properties sufficient for a human nature, just need a human body. So if this is the case with Jesus, you would now have one person with two complete natures. A human nature, right here, human soul and human body. You would also have a divine nature, right here, a member of the Trinity. So you'd have one person, right here, that has two complete natures. That would be a divine nature and a human nature, with one person, two natures. All right, let us answer some objections. All right, and for objection number one, somebody might say that you are a heretic, just like Apollinarius. Apollinarius was an upholder of orthodoxy and became bishop of Laodicea in 360 A.D., but his Christological teachings were the object of criticism. It was condemned by the synods of Rome in 374 to 380 A.D. and by the Council of Constantinople. So somebody might say that you are a heretic following Apollinarius. Is this true? No, it's not true. And why is that? Because Apollinarius, or Apollinarianism, is a heresy that denies the completeness of Christ's humanity. And as the model above shows, that it is one person with two complete natures, a fully human and fully divine nature. And let's go to the next objection. All right, objection number two. How, if there's one person, can he have attributes that seem to contradict? How could he be all-knowing and yet limited in knowledge? Or how can he be tempted by sin and yet untemptable if he's one person? This doesn't seem to make sense. So, what is the answer? Well, as the Christians rightly answer and point out to Philippians chapter 2, where Jesus made himself of no reputation and took upon the form of a servant, made in the likeness of men. He humbled himself and became obedient. And Dr. William Lane Craig has something interesting to say when he presents this as a possible answer to the critics. He says the divine aspects of the Logos are largely concealed in Christ's subconsciousness, so that he had a waking conscious life that would be typical of any human being, and that like the mass of an iceberg submerged beneath the surface, so in his divine subconsciousness there lay the fullness of deity. The waking consciousness was typically human. Like one person is composed of consciousness and subconsciousness. Like the big iceberg he was mentioning. Consciousness at the top and the surface. Now remember, here's the properties of a human soul that was made in the image of God. And subconsciousness below the surface. The waking human consciousness in your day-to-day life. And Christ, the fullness of deity, was subliminal. So this could be how Jesus was in his divine nature all-knowing, yet in his human nature he was limited in knowledge, and he can learn as he developed from a boy to a man, and he could know truly what it was like to be human, how he could be tempted by sin and yet not sin, tempted by sin in his human nature, yet untemptable in his divine nature. Now, for more information, you can go to reasonablefaith.org, William Lane Craig's website. He has a podcast. You can go to Season 3, listen to the Doctrine of Christ, Part 6 and Part 7. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.